God bless the child. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. Whose mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. That's got his own. Ooh, ooh. Yes, the strong gets more while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Hey, now mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own, his own. Well, money. You've got lots of friends crowding around your door, and when it's gone and spending ends, they don't come no more. Well, rich relationships cross the bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much. Now mama may have and Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Ooh, oh, got his own. Ooh, God bless the child that's got his own. Ooh, that's got his own.
Woo! Bless you, my minister of flavor and musical vibes, Miss Lynette Barber. I just love her so much. Hey, fam. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, Lynette, for that beautiful story and music. I recruited Lynette into this journey with me, and I gave her the title Minister of Flavor and Musical Vibes because she was like, she cringed at the title of Minister of Music. Not really, like she's mad cool with that. She's amazing and I love and appreciate her dearly. Family, what's good with you? Today's a good day. Today is a good day. I've had a beautiful opportunity to coach a group of clergy people on the whole concept of guilt, shame, and storytelling. And they were so wonderful and so receptive. And I just appreciated having that space with them, you know, because these are such interesting times. And I look forward to the day where I can say these are great times. But if I'm honest, interesting is, you know, that's the term with the most integrity, the most positive I can be, because really too many days feel dark. But here's the thing about darkness. Two things about it. Number one, we have to discern if this is the darkness of the womb or the darkness of the tomb. Is something dying or is something growing? Are we prepping for new birth? I pray that it is the latter. So that's one thing about darkness. But the second thing is this: light diminishes darkness every time. Light overcomes darkness. And in this season, I choose to be light. That's why I have melded my three eternal loves: Jesus, jazz, and dessert wine. And I have found this creative way to flood this present darkness with light using my art form, storytelling. So I co-opted Vespers, which for those of you who don't know, it's an established spiritual practice. And it's a time for evening prayer. That's what Vespers means. It means evening prayer, like evening light. And so I've expanded the concept of, quote, prayer to include breath, story, music, and affirmation. So I said all of that to say, welcome to Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers, an online gathering of faith and adult storytelling. Now, when I say faith, I mean mystery. We engage mystery. And when I say adult storytelling, I mean stories that are shared by adults for adults in an adult manner. So 7-year-olds have a story time and they have story content, and so do adults. It's like a situation that happened to me last fall. Now, this particular experience would frighten a child, but it's an interesting life lesson for adults, and particularly women. I'd only been in Raleigh for about 4 months when I was invited to an alumni homecoming party for one of the local HBCUs. Kid Capri was the celebrity DJ. And I was so meticulous in my planning for that night. I didn't want to get caught up in the traffic. I knew it was going to be like a sold out event, and I didn't want to have to wait in line for like, a valet or anything. And so I got smart. The party was was about, less than 2 miles from where my office is. And so I decided to park right in front of my office, right in front of the door where there's a security camera. And we were going to, one of my sister friends was in town, and she and I were going to Uber to the party. And we, wouldn't get caught up in any of the lines or any of that stuff. So I had a really, really good on paper plan with this thing. And so we go to the homecoming event, and it was a really fun time. And we danced all night. And then as soon as they turned the lights up and told us, hey, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. That's what we did. We got the hell out of there. And we didn't have to wait in line or anything because, again, we were smart. We Ubered. So in the Uber, we're in Uber. Get to my car. And she is talking with the Uber driver about, I think both of their sons were going to be going to the same university. And so they were just kind of, talking through that and, their parental hopes and that kind of thing. And it was a beautiful conversation. But I get out of the car because I wanted to warm my car up and, get us in place to, head home. We'd had a full night and it was time to take it in. But as I'm in the car, sitting there warming up, there is a guy down the street who is yelling to the top of his lungs. And my thought was, oh, okay, there's like some drama, something that's going on, like he's yelling to whoever it is that's at the other end of the street. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with us. And, whatever it is, it's downtown Raleigh. So there are a few eccentrics, but no one ever means you any harm. And so we're like, okay, we're going to be fine. But as he's getting closer, he's continuing like this really crazy behavior. And like, I need for her to get in the car, because I don't want her to get caught in any crossfire. So fortunately, she does get in the car and we're able to lock the doors. And so we're safe and, inside of my car. But it's too late for us to get out in front of him. So we just have to sit in place and wait for him to pass on by or whatever and get on to this, whatever's his drama. But all of a sudden, dude, he's cussing loud, he's clowning, and then he jumps on my hood and begins punching my windshield, and he actually shatters the windshield with the first punch. My sister friend who's in the car, she is screaming like, what the hell? Now, while this guy is punching and the shards of glass are coming onto my face, my thought was, you dumbass, I got 6,000 pounds that I'm in. Is this what we're doing? Okay, let me show you a trick. And suddenly I put my car in drive, take off. He's affixed to the hood. And she's screaming. He's holding on, steady punching the windshield. And then he falls off and I run his ass over. I go around the corner. There's a bar that was up that night that was right around the corner. And I was actually looking for a police officer who perhaps was, working that night as a bouncer. And they didn't have a bouncer, but he told me that the police station was right around the corner. And so we round the second corner and I flagged down a squad car. Now he sees that my windshield is busted. And so I let down my driver's side window and I say, excuse me, officer, this random man just jumped on my hood and he punched my windshield. And so I ran his ass over. I left him lying in the back of the street down there, and I named the street. And then I said to the officer, so I guess I need to come in and talk to somebody. Like I am literally like this chill. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the protocol is for when you run over people. But surely you need to go and like, report it to the police, and then they will help you with following protocol. So the officer goes into the station and he brings out another officer, and then he radios for any other officers that were in the area to go to the area where where I left the body, or I left the guy laying in the street. And so the officers get there, the guy is gone. So clearly, I ain't killed nobody that night. And so the officer is talking with me, and he's, asking, how many beers were you drinking tonight? And I was like, I had one beer. I was at an alumni party, and the line for the drinks were too long. And so I wanted more, but, I'd only had one beer, and that was 2 hours ago. He's like, well, do you know this guy? It's like, officer, I've never seen this guy before in my life. Like, I'm literally sitting in the car, and I explained to him everything that happened. And then he says, do you want to go to the emergency room? And I'm looking down, and I see like little flecks of, glass on my chest. And so I just start picking them off. I was like, no, it didn't puncture skin. I'm okay. And the other officer is talking with my friend, and they're just trying to make sure that everything is lining up. And then at the end of the conversation, the officer says, just FYI, I'm not doubting your story, but in case this guy comes and he says, hey, he's the victim of a hit and run, we just need to get as much information from you as possible. And that was the first time that it had ever occurred to me that this guy could be the victim, that he could go and report himself as the victim. And so me and my sister friend, we are cracking up laughing. Like, we cannot believe I was that intentional, and like, trying to avoid, traffic. And I end up in this room. It was like, what the devil? We really could not believe that that any of this was happening. But the other thing that really surprised me was that next week, I'm on social media, and I tell this story about, running this guy over. I knew that people would be like, yeah, thank you for not being a victim. Fuck him. Like, he shouldn't have done that. And you should have run him over twice, is what, a lot of my sister friends were saying. But I was not prepared for the people who actually had empathy for my attacker. One person told me, maybe you could have like swerved to miss him, like you didn't have to run over him. Another person says, I just think it's really bad that you are gloating about running over a person. And in the meantime, I have people who are reading like their public sort of lament and, empathy for the fucking attacker. They're like, how do you know these people? Who are these people that are telling you to take it easy on an attacker? And I could not figure out what it was until I asked all of them one question. If it were your wife, your daughter, your mother, who had some random guy jump on their car and bust their windshield in the middle of the night, would you encourage them to go easier on the attacker? And when their eyes like sort of shifted, I realized, okay. It was something about the way they see Black women. Somehow we are expected to just take it. And the fact that I had the gall to not take it bothered some of them. But that was okay. I mean, I had several conversations with them offline, and I understood that they are products of, a society and a series of narratives that have long, tried to diminish Black women. But we won't be easily diminished. And I was grateful that night, my guardian angel and that man's guardian angel were looking out for both of us. And so I am here to tell the story that I survived. And I am praying that he went to church that next day with his grandmother, who had been praying for him. And he too was grateful that he survived. And we continue to live and to live better and to make better decisions. Our guest storyteller for tonight was actually with me that night. And it's funny to hear her tell her version of the story, because she is like panicked and she's looking at me be super chill, and she's narrating like what I'm saying that night. And she is like the way she tells the story is so funny. But tonight she has a different story. She is a woman who has incredible courage, charisma, and a ton of crazy ass stories. But in none of her stories will you ever see any lies detected. Please welcome Star Robinson.
My mother was six of eight children. She was the youngest of three sisters. I say was because our sisters are gone now, so she is the only sister left. But she is a Spitfire, never been married. And I can remember being younger and sitting around her and her sisters, my aunts, talking. And, my aunts would be talking about how they felt so compelled to move out of my grandparents' home. They weren't quite sure how. So one of the reasons they were able to move without too much trouble was because they got married. So they got married, both of them young, got married right out of high school, moved out of my grandparents' home, and were living on their own. And so I used to remember my mom used to be talking shit, sitting at the table with them, and she used to be like, so y'all asses didn't know y'all could just move, that y'all could just move out. Like, who gets married to move out? I just moved out. And so that's my mother. The short end of it is that she's definitely lives life the way that she felt was going to be most suitable to her. But I was 12 years old, and it was my mother's 32nd birthday. All right, and this was one of my first lessons into womanhood. And there was many along the way. But at 12 years old, my mom's 32nd birthday, I'm at home, and her boyfriend comes into the kitchen, and he says, "Hey, look, it's your mom's birthday. I want to go get her something. I want to go get her something really nice. You want to go with me?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, let's go." And I said, "Well, what am I gonna get?" And he was like, "Well, she's told me about a few different things, but there's these pots and pans that she had told me about. We're gonna go look and we're gonna go see." But we're gonna get whatever is most expensive. So I'm like, bet, I'm down. It's my mama. Let's go. Right. So at that time, where I'm from, and I'm from Indiana, the store that we were going to was a high-end store in my hometown called Meese. And so, as soon as he told me we're going to Meese, I'm like, oh, bet, we about to get something really, really nice for my mom for her birthday. So we go in, so kind of look around. So he goes straight back, to the homeware in the store, and we see this, box of stainless steel pots and pans. It's huge. It's like, I don't even know, 30 plus set of this huge pots and pans. And so, he was like, yeah, she had pointed these out to me. This is something that, she said that she wanted. And so I'm like, okay, great. So I'm 12 years old. We get to the cash register, and they ring up the pots and pans, and, it says up there in red, $250, so I'm like, what? $250? Oh my God, she is going to love this. $250, that's like, $2 million to me at the time, So we go get this huge red bowl, put the red bowl on the box, put it in the car, take it on home. I'm excited. So of course my mom's not there. We come in the back door. The back door is the kitchen. So we come in the back door, sit it on the kitchen table. He leaves or whatever. I'm in my room chilling, waiting on her to come home to see, hear the reaction, see what's gonna happen. And so I hear the back door, the screen door open. She comes in, and it's quiet for a second. So I'm sitting there like listening, and all of a sudden she's like, "A Star Love Antoinette Robinson." She didn't call me by my full government handle. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, what? I'm what? You know what I'm saying? So I walk into like the dining room, right before you get to the kitchen, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, come here, and so I'm like, I'm trying to stay out of reach, you know what I'm saying? I take another step, I'm like, yes, ma'am, and she's like, you see this here bullshit on the table? And I was like, what? In my mind, of course, I'm saying, what? I'm like, yes, ma'am. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like, you know what I'm saying? Well, that's $250, mom. Bullshit. I'm so confused. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my goodness, I cannot tell her that I went with him to get this $250 worth of bullshit sitting on the table. Right? She sees my confusion, you know, and I am standing there, you know, my eyes are bugged out, and she takes one of her hands off her hip. So that let me know she a little relaxed. I didn't a whole lot of trouble. And she says, look, let me tell you what an acceptable birthday gift is. She stands there, you know, so I'm waiting. She looks at me and she says, cash, jewelry, perfume, the full set, the perfume, the lotion, the shower gel, all of that. That is an acceptable birthday gift. And she goes and kind of walks away. And I was just like, okay, you know. And so I kind of get it, but I don't get it. You know, I'm looking at my mom and I'm kind of like, oh, man, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like rude, kind of, you know, ungrateful, maybe even, you know, it's $250. You know, and when got the bowl, all of that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm confused. I'm just like, that. So she goes on. I go on. I'm standing in the kitchen by the back door. Bullshit with the red bowl still on the table. JT walks in. So he walks in the back door, you know, he walks in, he all like, you know, my mom's home, you know. So he walked in, you know, and he looked at me and I was just like, no, bro, look. So he looked and I just kept shaking my head. So I looked at him, I leaned in and I said, please don't tell her I went with you. Whatever you do, don't tell her I went with you. So he's just looking at me, you know. So he goes on to the back. I exit. I leave the house out the back door. Okay, so I'm gone for a little while. I'm gone. Like I said, I'm 12 years old, out playing, do whatever I do. I come back to the house, walk in the back door. Before I get in the back door, all the way, my mom again has called me by my full government handle. A Starlove Antoinette Robinson, get in here now. And I'm like, oh, shit. What? You know what I'm saying? He must have told her I went with him. So I walk to the back. She's in her room. Now, the box is gone with the red box. It's gone. It's no longer in the kitchen. All right. And so I walk in there into her bedroom. Again, she's got one hand on her hip. She says to me, this is a teachable moment. She said, earlier, I know that you did not understand what I was saying to you. She said, I'm going to explain it to you. This is one of your lessons into your womanhood. She said, as a woman and a mother, what we do from the womb, from our mother's room to when you were in mine, is work, the kind of work that maintains and sustains our family. So any gift that you are going to give in honor of the work that a woman and a mother does to sustain and maintain the life of her family should be a representation of greatness, of honor, of love. What it shouldn't be is something that creates more fucking work. So I said, oh, got it. Okay, so pots and pans, vacuums, any of that, that's out. Got it. Right. And so then I paid attention to, there was these 3 boxes on the bed. Now, the pots and pans were on the bed. Beside the pots and pans was a smaller box. And beside that box was an even smaller box. And so she was like, I'm going to show you something. So she opens up of course I knew what the pots and pans were. So she opens up the smaller box. And in that box was the Luke perfume, the full set, the shower gel, and the lotion. All right. And at this moment, I am just looking at my mom. I am so in awe of her. I still am. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you know, she got what she told me she wanted, she got. So in the next box, she opens that one up, and it is this beautiful watch. Beautiful. It was so dainty and silver. It was beautiful. I absolutely loved the watch. It was beautiful. Represented strength and beauty at the same time, which was everything that I saw in my mother at that very moment. And she said something very simple to me, a very simple statement in that moment as she saw this look in my face as I'm looking at her and these gifts. And she says to me, say what you want. Say what you want. Mean what you say, especially to your significant other. Men are very simple people. You have to tell them exactly what it is that you want. So I look at her and I go, okay, great. I'm just, excited. She's got what she wants. The lesson, and I'm still in absolute awe. And I look at her and I say, so we taking the pots and pans back? She said, hell no, girl. I wanted them. That's my mother. Pots and pans.
Oh my God. Do I not love your mother? Do I not love her? Oh my God. She was like, look, yeah, I wanted those pants. So look, oh boy, he got it right eventually.
Yes,
Awesome.
eventually.
Eventually. All right, babe. Thank you so much. There is Star Robinson, one of my favorite storytellers. I just love her. She's a real one. I appreciate people like Star, and I appreciate the stories that she tells, because she keeps hope stoked in me. Like, I know that everything is going to be all right when I got Miss Lenore's, like pots and pans story, and there are a ton of others. For those of you who tuned in to hashtag the Bounce Back RDU, you're familiar with one of Star's other stories. And so just an amazing, powerful person. All is well in all manner of things for most of us. And yet life can sometimes get a little tricky. This week, one of my sister friends lost her son to suicide. And what was interesting about what she posted on Facebook about her son was that she posted like just kind of who he was as a person. She has no idea like what was going on. But she said that he was an organ donor. And so she was traveling. She's a filmmaker. And so she has to fly home and handle this. And so she said that while she's heading home, her son's organs are being donated to sustain the life of other folks. Life can be super, super dark. And today, if there's anyone who is feeling that sense of darkness and it's not enough for you to hear a funny story, like you really need to go deeper. You don't have to go deep by yourself. You don't have to do it alone. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is a 24-hour hotline. I would encourage all of you to go there. So we speak JoJo's name and we lift you up. And as you are finding your way to your new, we are with you. We are with you. And for those of us who also have the audacity to continue to yet hope. One of my biggest sources of hope is found in a book by Walter Brueggemann called The Prophetic Imagination. And he says something that really speaks to why I have been so committed to being sure that I don't let darkness just kind of sit there. I've always got to address it, I hope, but concretely about the newness that comes. And so when I'm speaking metaphorically about hope, I'll say that, quote, hope penetrates despair. Something I'm always saying, hope penetrates despair. And what that looks like concretely is this. In 2015, I began praying for a specific election outcome. There was a candidate who was running for the highest office in the country who 2 years earlier in 2013 had sued a comedian for saying that his mama had sex with an orangutan and gave birth to him. This dude literally filed paperwork over that bullshit. And all I could think was, if he wins, we are screwed. And then he wins. And he has been a nightmare on so many levels. But something else began to happen. The first time I had this particular experience was in 2015. And it was when I went to the doctor. And during the time, that the doctor will ask questions about your health history, my doctor asked me the following question. Are you experiencing depression? To which I answered, of course I am. Are you watching the news? But that question was a sign that we were taking mental health seriously. And so today is hashtag World Mental Health Day. Now, we cannot control the news cycle, but we can control on and off buttons. So I encourage you to, on this day and every day beyond this, turn on that which feeds your psyche and turn off that which destroys your peace. Hashtag World Mental Health Day is today. So take it seriously. And then there's something else that Walter Brueggemann does that he encourages that has been a real lifeline for me. And he talks about engaging our energizing memories. And by energizing memories, he's saying, like, what are those moments where everything was really great for you? Get out of the way here. So in this picture, this was, and I cut off all of my sister friends who were with me. This was taken in Washington, D.C., January 2009. It was the first inauguration for President Obama. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. And here we are in front of the Jumbotron. It was freezing that day, and but our hearts were full. And we have some really interesting and some really crazy stories that were attached to that. But that is an example of why I continue to believe that all is well in all manner of things. Hope penetrates despair. And I have a role and a responsibility in doing that. And so do you, just by engaging your memory. Engage your memory. And finally, before we close, let me say something about giving. I want you to know that we all have a responsibility to give. But what we must give is that which we have. Give love. Give shelter. Give peace. Give space. Give contracts and opportunities if you have that. If you have that power, give grace, and of course, give money. But just give. Figure out exactly where can you plug into the needs that are here, and figure out how you can be part of the hashtag solutions. Now, if you're interested in learning how to share your story, your truth and story, I want to encourage you to visit alexusrhone.com for upcoming workshops. I have several that are going to be playing for the month of October. And again, I had a really powerful one today with a private group that was extremely profound. And my heart is encouraged. And with that, let me say that in our sending, love is not an option. It's a command. May the command to love lead us towards creative solutions. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Join us next week as our guest storyteller, Tekka Thompson, tells a story about the day that she learned to pray. I am super excited because the way that she tells the story is not didactic in whatever way you would think it is, but she is she's an amazing and emerging storyteller, and I'm excited to have you be with us. Until then, be good to yourself and to others. God's best to you.